If you've ever used PowerPoint, you know just how powerful it can be. But here's a thought. What if that message you've worked so hard on isn't actually reaching everyone? Well, today, we're going to unlock your slides and show you how to make sure your great ideas connect with your entire audience.
Oh, we've all been there, right? The dreaded death by PowerPoint. This cartoon is just so funny because it hits so close to home. That feeling of being tortured by a never-ending slide deck, yeah, it's pretty universal. But let's just flip that idea on its head for a second. What if the real torture isn't about being bored, but about being excluded? I mean, when a presentation has barriers that stop someone with a disability from understanding it, we're not just being boring, we're literally shutting people out.
So our goal here is pretty simple, actually. It's to create what's called an accessible document, and all that means is a file that gives the exact same information to everyone. We're not talking about a separate, watered-down version, but the same core message no matter how a person is accessing it. Now, the good news is you don't have to figure all this out by yourself. PowerPoint actually has a built-in tool that's like your first line of defense. Think of it as your own little automated assistant, just waiting to spot the most common problems for you. And finding it couldn't be easier. Seriously. You just pop over to the Review tab, click Check Accessibility, and boom, a panel shows up and starts scanning your slides. It's a fantastic first step. The best way to think about the accessibility checker is it's like a spell checker. It's amazing at catching the obvious technical stuff, the misspellings, if you will, but it has no idea if what you wrote actually makes sense. It can't check for meaning. For that, you need a human. And this is a perfect example. We're talking about alt text for images here. An automated tool might generate the alt text, a map. I mean, sure, it's technically a map, but that's useless, right? A human, on the other hand, can explain why the map is important, describing the counties and what the colors mean. See the difference? That's clarity.
Here's another classic the checker will find, hyperlink text. Now, you got to remember, someone using a screen reader often pulls up a list of all the links on the page to navigate. If that list just says, click here, learn more, it's totally meaningless. But if the link text actually describes where it's going, like WebAIM contrast checker, then the user knows exactly what they're getting. The checker is also going to call you out for missing slide titles. And this is so important. For a screen reader user, the slide titles are basically the table of contents. It's how they find their way around. And here's a little pro tip for you. If you don't like how a title looks on a slide for design reasons, you can just hide it. It's still there in the background for screen readers to use for navigation. Best of both worlds. Okay, so the automated checker got us started. It found the low-hanging fruit, but now it's time for the manual checks. This is where the technology has to take a back seat, and where our own human empathy really becomes the most important tool we have.
A perfect example of this is color. So imagine you've got this great chart, and you use green to show good numbers and red to show bad numbers. To you, it looks crystal clear, but to someone who's colorblind, all that meaning is completely lost. You've got to have another way to show it, like an icon or a label or something.
All right, here is one of the easiest, simplest rules that makes a huge difference, especially for folks with low vision or dyslexia. Just use a font size of 18 points or larger for your main body text. And stick to clean, simple sans serif fonts. Think Arial or Calibri. It's like an instant boost for readability. Okay, I want you to listen really closely for a second. I'm going to read what's on this slide exactly how a screen reader might. Here we go. Order matters, period. Eyeball. Checklist icon. Of your text clear just by go. uvm.edu/accessibility, and it might not be at it.
Complete gibberish, right? I mean, what was that? It's just a jumbled mess of words and icon names that makes absolutely no sense. Well, that is what happens when a slide that looks perfectly fine to us has a totally broken reading order.
And here's the thing you absolutely have to understand. A screen reader doesn't see your beautiful layout. It doesn't care where you put things. It reads the objects on the slide in the order you added them. So if you add the title, then an image, then go back and add the subtitle, you get that jumbled mess we just heard. The fix, though, is actually pretty simple. You use something called the selection pane, which shows you a list of every single thing on your slide. You can just drag them around to get them in the right order. But, and this is the one weird, counterintuitive thing you have to remember, the reading order goes from bottom to top. The first thing you want read needs to be at the very bottom of that list. Once you get that little trick, you're in complete control.
So we've talked about the automated tools, we've covered the manual fixes. But the real goal here isn't to memorize some giant, scary checklist.
It's about building a new habit, one step at a time.
I absolutely love this piece of advice. It can feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, but you don't have to fix everything at once. Resist the freakout. Just pick one thing. Maybe for the next month you just focus on writing really good alt text for every image. Or maybe you just make sure every single slide has a unique title. These small, consistent steps are what build into a really powerful practice.
So I'll just leave you with this question. What's that one small change you can make? The one thing you're going to focus on for your very next presentation? Because by making these small, intentional choices, you're not just making better slides, you're making sure your best ideas are open and accessible to everyone.